Been born with a. Oh, there we go. There we go. We are live. It is the Thursday night live stream, and we're going to be discussing. I'm here with the Bechtloff. Say hi to everybody, Bechtloff.
How's it going, everybody?
You all know who he is. There's a link down to his channel below if you don't. Now, I just want to start off first by saying that this live stream is brought to you by my very generous backers on Patreon. So, you know, guys, if you like the content, give shekels. Ain't that right, brother?
Oh, yeah. Gotta have them shekels.
I'd say give shekels to Christopher Cantwell, but well, we'll get into that. We'll get into why you can't give shekels to Christopher Cantwell right now. But before we jump into it, I want to set the tone with a poem by Rudyard Kipling. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you but make allowances for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise, you will be a man, my son. And that is the common thread that I want to run through this podcast. You know, earlier in the week, we kind of talked about the issues that have been fermenting in the alt-right for quite some time. I want to talk about the mass hysteria. I want to talk about what all of us need to be doing, mentally, morally, spiritually. Because, like, quite frankly, this is absolute mass hysteria right now. All right, America is having a Maoist cultural revolution where these rioters are tearing down all of these statues, left, right, and center. They're deleting, they're erasing America's history. Then we have, of course, George Soros was involved in the events in Charlottesville. So it turns out that the first eyewitness, a man by the name of Brennan Gilmore, well, isn't he interesting? There's a link down below to this. But Gilmore, now who is he? He worked in Africa as a U.S. State Department Foreign Service officer, which is likely CIA, but nonetheless creepy. Okay, the State Department, that's basically the Brotherhood of Nod in Command and Conquer. And then he left to manage the campaign of Tom Perriello, a Virginia governor earlier this year. Who is that? Tom Perriello. His fundraising, he got $2.2 million in the first 3 months of 2017, the highest among all candidates in Virginia's governor's race. And out of that, he got $200,000 from a nonprofit that he founded a decade ago. And his second largest contribution was $250,000, or sorry, $385,000 from George Soros, $250,000 from Soros's son. So, yeah, the first guy on the scene videotaping all of this and reporting it just happens to work for a guy that got, you know, more than $500,000 from George Soros. And this is in the city where the cops are ordered to stand down, and not just stand down, but funnel the alt-right protesters into the Antifa protesters who were armed with bats and mace and glasses full of urine, you name it. So the whole damn thing was a setup by a bunch of people that want people tearing down statues. Mass frickin' hysteria. But it's all going on from there. So, Bechtloff, would you mind informing the good people of what's been happening to our good friend Christopher Cantwell?
Well, shit. In the past, day or so? I think I get an echo in your end there, Davis.
All right, I'll try muting it and hopefully it'll go away.
Well, in the past day or so, Cantwell has been deplatformed off of everything from YouTube and Facebook to MailChimp and OkCupid. He has been thrown off everything. I would also like to point out, to the best of my knowledge, Richard Spencer has not been deplatformed off everything. So, you know, thinking face emoji right there. But yeah, Cantwell is being absolutely ruined. Cantwell is paying the biggest price for the Charlottesville fuck up. To some extent because of his own idiotic behavior. He had a really idiotic interview with Vice recently, which, I mean, right from the get-go, you don't talk to fake news. That's beginner's mistake right there. He should have known better right off the get-go. That said, though, Cantwell is well, he's the one that's really being hung out to dry of all the Charlottesville, all the people involved in that. He's being ruined. He's being destroyed. I don't know if he's been thrown off PayPal. As of Saturday, he wasn't. But that, who the hell knows? But he's being destroyed. He had a very emotional video Saturday talking to, and that's being passed around by leftists and cucks. Haha, look at how much of a pussy he is. He has a tear in his eye. You know, he had been maced earlier that day, plus he was emotional. He's really getting hung out to dry, and it kind of breaks my heart. I like Cantwell. I don't like I think he's had a definite decline in quality the past, I want to say, close to a year now, since really getting in bed heavily with some people I think are rather questionable. Not even because of their politics. I think just personally they're questionable. Guys like Spencer, the TRS guys. And I mean, he's just been, it's all been all kinds of dumb shit on his show lately. Like, oh, we're going to have polygamy to save the white race. And then he's got fucking Weave on there talking about how white people should try and genocide all the other races because that's the only way to ensure our survival. Not an exaggeration. That's shit that's just dumb shit that was on his channel. So partly Cantwell brought him on himself, but what I can't help but notice is a fundamental pattern here, and that's that wherever Richard Spencer is, there's a shit show. There's a shit show that Richard Spencer never seems to really pay for. People around him seem to pay for. And if you bring in a pre-existing shit show like Cantwell did, Spencer will magnify it.
Let me read you had a series of tweets earlier this afternoon that perfectly sums this up. Let me read them. Christopher Cantwell has basically been destroyed in the aftermath of Seville. He was run off of everything, including MailChimp, for mass emails. Unlike Dickie Spencer, Cantwell was a man with ideas, a man who actually fought for shit, a man of real courage. I hate to see him ruined. Once again, Spencer fucks shit up, and once again, other people pay the real price. And yet still I have Spencer dick riders in my mention. And all you Spencer fans can do is mock my avatar. Meanwhile, your incompetent closet case leader is going to keep ruining lives. And while his followers get jailed, fired, and even killed due to his fuck-ups, he'll just keep smirking and enjoying his trust fund.
Yeah, I had somebody say to me, well, you know, Cantwell knew the risk getting involved in these movements, and the people, you know, there's other people. I mean, the guy who ran over that commie bitch, that was pure self-defense. Anyone who looks at the footage can see that car was attacked before he tried to get out of there. There should have been people around the car in the first fucking place. That's a failure on the cops' part. That was self-defense. Any fair trial in the world will acquit that man. I highly doubt he's going to get a fair trial, though. I think that guy is likely to go to prison for the rest of his days.
I could see it
questionable background.
I think manslaughter is extremely arguable with the kid with the Mustang or whatever it was, the Charger.
The point is, he's going to pay far more than any reasonable person thinks he should. Also, yes, there's people who were photographed there who have lost their jobs. You know, again, well, that's just the price you pay for being involved in these movements. I can't help but notice that Richard Spencer has never seems to pay that price.
Guys, you need to choose better leaders. You can't be following people that tell you whatever you want to hear. Okay, like myself, and same goes for you, Bechtloff. I try and tell you what I think you need to hear, even if you don't like it, and I try and speak the truth as best I can. And you know what? A couple of other people have pointed out to me, you know, this is them speaking, not me. I actually have military experience. I actually have quite a bit of experience, both, you know, working, doing grunt jobs, and as an entrepreneur. I actually have quite a bit of experience in all of this. Now, I'm not saying I should be the new leader of the alt-right, because right now I don't have anywhere to lead you guys. What we need to do, and that's why I started with the poem, is we all need to learn a little bit of self-discipline. Listen, let's go back to Cantwell for a minute. I don't want to take a big dump all over him because I really like Cantwell. I really like him. He is a man of ideas, as the Bechtloff tweeted out. And he's a man that's been doing this consistently for quite some time. He's been showing up to I don't know if it's the Senate or the Parliament or whatever you call it, He's been showing up to the government and arguing against oppressive garbage that they were trying to pass in New Hampshire. He has been out there walking the talk. All right, Cantwell is worth his salt. But in recent years, or in the recent year, I should say, he started picking some very bad company to hang around with. And it's the sort of company that, well, you know what? It's virtue is the mean between two extremes. Courage is the balance between foolhardiness and cowardice. This is where you get the saying that the better part of valor is caution or wariness, or however that saying goes. And yes, let's be perfectly frank. Cantwell, as much as I love him, has been stepping on his own dick quite a bit. And you know what? Here's the brutal thing, folks. Going out to agitate, to encourage other people into committing violence is not protected speech. Going and baiting people, trying to get them to assault you, that's not protected speech. So now we have the question. Was Charlottesville, was it a rally to defend the history of the United States, to defend the statues that the mobs are so ignorantly trying to tear down? Or was it an attempt to bait leftists into attacking you so that you could retaliate? Which one was it?
Well, again, getting back to Spencer, I mean, this is a guy who, you know, he's the self-professed leader of this movement. And he's a man of means. I mean, he's sitting pretty on Daddy's trust fund. He was a lot of people would be shocked to know just how connected and wealthy Richard Spencer was, especially connected.
He has very good friends with the Bush family.
So, first of all, why was there no real security? Why was there no planning? I realized that it was a trap, but it was a trap you should have anticipated.
And it's a trap that you should have had the discipline to get out of with minimal harm.
And also, like, you know, Cantwell was one of your boys out there with you, and he's strung up to dry now. And I don't see Rich is Spencer donating money to this guy? Is he helping him maybe with a legal fee? I think he has a legal case against OkCupid. I'd really like to take a look at their terms of service, because that's just outright ridiculous. But get you a lawyer. I mean, we live in the land of bake the cake, bigot. You know, get you a lawyer and say your free speech rights were infringed upon, whatever. You know, fight. Help him fight. No, it's just whatever. Once again, everything went to shit. And all I see is Richard Spencer just sitting there smirking. And people are telling me that's a leader. I had people like in my mentions like, oh, you have a Pokemon avatar, so you can't do it. Really? I mean, first of all, I'm not your leader, but second of all, like, I mean, come on, it's kind of the worst kept secret in the world. Spencer loves cock, right? I can't be the only one that thinks that. But that's your leader. That's your leader. There was an effeminate trust fund kid who never worked a day in his life. Never mind the conspiracy theory that he's truly controlled opposition. Okay, at this point, you have to either imagine that he's controlled opposition, or he's insanely incompetent, or I don't know, he's got some sort of fucking monkey paw gypsy's curse about him. But I mean, isn't the whole point of race realism being that you have pattern recognition?
Isn't the whole point of being a racist that you don't chimp out?
I mean, everything he touches turns to shit. And at a certain point, it's almost irrelevant whether or not it's malicious or not. It's no. And people still like, oh, no, he's the leader, or whatever. The TRS guys are leaders or whatever. It's just...
Again, the only standard for involvement in the alt-right, which, quite frankly, listen, these guys have, whatever the alt-right meant a year ago, it doesn't mean that anymore. Today, especially thanks to Charlottesville, the alt-right does not mean Vox Day. It does not mean the neo-reactionaries. It does not mean me or Bechtloff or Matt Forney or Common Phil or any of these people. The alt-right means TRS and Richard Spencer. And the only criteria for membership is how loudly you will yell the most stupid, offensive things possible. You know, how loudly you will speak the truth in such a manner that nobody can stand listening to it. That even if they agree with you, they still don't want to be in the same room. You know,
I mean,
and listen, talk
ago,
about, actually, let me give you an example of leadership, which you were to, here's what leadership looks like. You guys, I'm sure you remember the outrage over the Roosh B meetup, the rape meetup that was happening, the global rape meetup. Well, do you know why that was shut down? Everybody was on board for it. Everybody was like, Roosh, we're going to do this. We don't care what the SJWs say. We don't give a damn. This is the right thing to do, and we're behind you, Roosh. And Roosh said, I frickin' love you guys for that, but you know what? One man losing his job is not worth it. Not worth it to me. You know, Roosh could have taken that, and yeah, there would have been a whole slew of people that lost their jobs or got assaulted and injured, that, you know, blinded in one eye, you name it. And Roosh said no. No, at the end of the day, this is just a BS meetup so that we can start to know one another. Okay, and it doesn't need to be an international event. And in fact, it did happen. It has been going on, not quite as explicitly, but it's been happening. And nobody got hurt. Roosh could have milked that to get fame and fortune, you name it. But the individual lives of his soldiers meant more to him than his own notoriety. That's leadership.
Yeah, and you know, a couple years ago, if you'd asked me like who's the quote unquote, you know, one of the major figures, the leaders, the unofficial leader of white nationalism, I'd have said Ramsey Paul, because there's a guy that's completely reasonable. There's a guy that never, you know, steps on his own dick. You know, I mean, the media doesn't focus on Ramsey Paul because they don't have a lot of ammunition. The media loves to focus on Richard Spencer. They love it. They love it to death. They can't have him on TV enough.
And he can't be on TV enough.
Again, Cantwell's been deplatformed from everything from YouTube to fucking OkCupid. I don't see Spencer getting deplatformed.
And you know what? Go look up over on the Return of Kings. I actually wrote some security protocols for the riots that were happening at Berkeley, but it's the same thing that we're talking about here. And go check that out from 6 months ago, what I wrote. And you'll see right there more sense than was being advocated by anybody at this particular rally. Because when your only criteria is how loudly does somebody yell something offensive, you wind up with people that have no discipline. Good Lord, I was talking about this on Tuesday. I don't need to repeat it endlessly. But yes, we need discipline. We need to be acting like men. We are talking about revitalizing Western civilization. We need to embody the values that made Western civilization great in the first place. And I'm sorry, but running around like a punk kid at a pop music rally, you know, that's just not it.
Yeah, and also, I mean, the Nazi stuff's got to fucking go. It's playing right into there's no reason white identity or white culture needs to be fucking tied to Nazism. It doesn't need to be that way. You know, I realize Hitler, it's edgy and it's funny on the fucking message boards, but you don't take that shit into actual rallies, okay?
Listen, Hitler said that the German people deserve to be destroyed for failing him. And that's when you embrace Nazism, that's the sort of leader you get.
And again, you and Forney pointed this out, you know, aside from Cantwell and a few others, very few people in the alt-right like to bring up Pinochet when there was a leader who did, let's say, some unpleasant things. And as a result, his nation is better to this day for it. Whereas, you know, look at fucking Germany. I mean, you know, that's primarily my heritage is German and my ancestry. And that place is a fucking mess. And I don't know if it's going to exist in 50 years in any meaningful sense of the word.
Yeah, let me give you a breakdown of a group. And you tell me whether I'm talking about the alt-left or the alt-right. So, number one, that's a bunch of underemployed young people. You know, no employment prospects, you know, welcome to this economy, underemployed. They're also very miseducated on things. They have a very facile understanding of history, which is all intentional, okay? The current schooling system, it's It's supposed to make you stupid. It's supposed to make you ignorant. And they are just the perfect examples of the modern education system. They've been completely cultured in narcissism. Okay, all of their entertainment, the stuff they consume and the stuff they produce, is completely narcissistic, completely egotistical, with no appreciation for actual art. They go about demanding respect all the time, not earning respect, not being humble and earning respect, but showing up and demanding that you give me respect. They are very angry over historical crimes, which A, don't really affect them, and B, don't really matter when you get right down to it. And they're both trying to fix a broken system by tearing down the system that we have. Okay, I'm not going to keep playing with this rhetorical edge. I think you all get the point. Is that the alt-left and the alt-right are the same people at the end of the day. And we've seen the alt-right become, like, now the alt-right is apparently it's socialist. Okay, well, the very first point that Box Day did in his 16 points for the alt-right, the very first point was that socialists have no business there, and that includes national socialists.
Well, yeah, now, the socialism thing that's ridiculous. That's purely magical thinking. It's like, no, socialism can work if white people do it. White people can't make 2 and 2 equal 5.
It's just this heartbreaking cycle with socialism, where you see people that don't even realize that they've been crippled by the socialist system that already exists, going up to City Hall and saying, spread the wealth around. You know, whether it's blacks that are growing up in the ghetto, you know, broken families and all of this. And this is all because of socialism. It's all because of the Great Society, quote unquote, Great Society. Maybe put triple brackets around that. I don't know. They've been broken because of the Great Society, and now they're asking the government for more help. Or the white kids who, you know, they went and got a student loan to go get a useless degree, and now they can't find a job and they're massively in debt. And they're saying, please, more socialism to help me with this student loan. It's the socialism's the thing holding you back in the first place. It's not, we don't need more free healthcare or more cash for clunkers or whatever it might be. We need less of all of it. And seriously, that's step one. Well, and, you know, another thing that's been irking me with a lot of the conversations I've been seeing about this is people keep pointing out, well, and this is it's worth acknowledging. Let's talk about this. There's how many? I don't know if there have been any. Well, you know, there have been plenty of dead cops thanks to Black Lives Matter. All right, how many deaths have occurred because of these left-wing terrorists? All right, plenty. All right, violence and left-wingism go hand in hand. All right, and whereas we get one, maybe a manslaughter from a guy that was scared and being attacked, you know, and suddenly the right is the most evil thing on the planet Earth. You know, and at the same time, I think it was earlier today in Spain. Did you hear about the terror attack?
I did. I didn't really hear who was behind it. I just naturally assumed it was Kebab.
Well, yeah, you would be right. And this person actually did try to murder people with his car and succeeded. I think there were 13 dead. You know, pray for them when you go to bed tonight. I don't see OkCupid kicking Muslims off it. I mean, OkCupid. We kicked off Christopher. Oh, you're so brave, OkCupid. How heroic. Good Lord. You're a bloody dating website, for crying out loud. So yeah, OkCupid. We don't see Google delisting Islamic websites. We don't see any of this. Okay, it's only like one person dies in questionable circumstances after they attack a right winger, and we got to shut it all down. Well, here's I've seen a lot of people complaining about this, and it's like, guys, you know the Democrats are the real racists. Guess what? Here's the reality. Life is not fair. And one of the things that is not fair is the fact that the entire conversation is left wing. All right, so a left winger goes and murders as many people as they want, and they have mental problems. They don't represent, the movement. Stalin wasn't a true Marxist. Whereas this, yes, it's going to reflect badly on you. Yeah, they can run around screaming, "Fuck the police," and this is lovely. Did you see that Vice tweeted out that we should blow up Mount Rushmore recently?
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, again, that'd be my biggest criticism of Cantwell in the last several weeks is why the fuck did you talk to Vice? I mean, I'm nobody. I could use the exposure, and I wouldn't return their calls.
But it gets back to it. Yeah, you know what? It's not fair. We are going to be held to a higher standard than the left. And that's the thing, is we actually advocate standards. We advocate standards of behavior for ourselves and for society.
And it is worth pointing out that that the entire Charlottesville, they have not shown one case where right-wingers initiated violence. Not one. This whole thing, it was violent because of the left. Now, yes, it was idiotic to have fallen into this trap in the first place, but it was the alt-left that initiated violence, and that is a wonderful term. Thank you, Trump, for making lemonade out of the lemons.
Well, and I'm glad he spoke out. Yeah, Antifa is a bit too vague, but at the end of the day, this also shows you where the whole thing's going. Okay, because like it or not, corporations are a major part. Like that's, I don't know how you could have an economy this complex without corporations. Maybe it's possible. Okay, I'm not an anarcho-capitalist utopian leader, so maybe it's possible. We can switch to the Venus Project, get rid of money, but then start trading in resources, which, by the way, that's what money represents. I don't know. Maybe we get rid of corporations that way, and the world is beautiful and whole once again. But just the way, when I look at the world, when I see the incredible intricacies of even the supply chain feeding your grocery store, I honestly don't know how we could have that without corporations. And corporations, are you getting an echo on my end still, Bechtloff?
No.
Okay, just making sure. Corporations, I've discussed this before, they are effectively psychopaths. Okay, corporations have all the intelligence and legal status and agency of a real person with absolutely no consciousness, no conscience, and no higher reason to exist aside from making more money. Corporations are the absolute psychopath, and they don't care about anything. All they want is more money. And so so you've got these two groups. Okay, one side believes in year zero. Let's tear down every single institution that exists because then the world will be perfect again. You've got the other group that wants a Nazi conflagration. Let's just murder everybody and then the world will be beautiful once more. And see, the corporations don't like that because there's no money in either of those. Now, the corporations like disruption, okay, because when something's disrupted, it's a lot easier to mine it for parts. Like you want to go mine some metals out of the earth, toss some TNT on it. It'll be a lot easier to find it afterwards. So they like disruption. They like breaking apart the family. They like social confusion and so forth, but they don't want destruction. And as far as the corporations are concerned, both the alt-left and the alt-right are a problem for them. Because the alt-right, whatever the hell it stands for, one of the things I think it stands for is traditional marriage. And traditional marriage means less women in the workplace, less women consuming useless resources. So you got to think about who's actually, who are we fighting and what is going on with all of this? Are we actually fighting the alt-left, or is the alt-left just a cat's paw for something else that's going on?
I saw a video just the other day, but it was a couple months old actually. It was by Jolly Crocodile, who is routinely in the chat for my streams and I think yours.
Yeah, where is it? Where are you tonight, Crocodile? We missed you.
He had a little video where he talked about in the aftermath of that third gym pack where found out that Ghoul was diddling teenage boys, not little boys, in all fairness. But, you know, all the shit the recent shitstorm around TRS. And he talked about that white nationalism. And again, I'm not a white nationalist. I don't call myself a white nationalist. So, you know, before any of you in the comments or in the chat are like, oh, you're not one of us. I didn't say I was. But I am very sympathetic to the goals and concerns of white nationalism. And I want to root for you guys. I really do. I want at least things pushed somewhat in your direction. But he had mentioned that, in his opinion, white nationalism has to have certain standards about a leader. That a leader, at least, needs to be not anonymous. We need to know who they are. As he put it, we need to, you know, the person needs to be a family man, all that other stuff. And I thought those are really good things, but I don't really see how white nationalism as a movement is ever going to adopt those standards. I don't see how you're ever going to get them to, because it seems like the only standards they have are, you know, be white and dislike non-white people. And that shouldn't be the case. I don't think, you know, that shouldn't be what white nationalism is, but it's become just what the standards are. Just, you know, I mean, what's the difference between Richard Spencer and Milo? I mean, they're both attention-seeking faggots. The only difference, in my opinion, seems to be the shade of cock they suck.
You know, there's a post by, well, the original, this is on the Rouge V forum. The thread over there is actually quite excellent. Who is the original by? I'm not seeing it. You'll have to forgive me. But Samseo replied to it. The guy wrote, like, here's what we should be standing for. And he wrote, 1, encouraging strong families. 2, implementing pro-nationalist political and economic policies. 3, preserving historic American white identity. 4, ending immigration into the US and Europe. 5, reawakening the West to true Christianity. 6, destroying the influence of Marxist postmodernism in the West. And 7, restoring traditional Western cultural values. Now, here's a significant part. Samseo replied to this guy saying, you know what, buddy? Take away preserving historical American white identity. Not because that's a bad thing. Listen, guys, we all understand this, all right? Culture, ethnicity, all of this goes hand in hand. Okay, part of the reason the corporation wants that world from what's that terrible sci-fi movie where the white people live in outer space and everybody on Earth is brown?
Elysium.
The reason they want that world is because that, you know, in their short-term psychopathic thinking, that's a very easy world to control. Okay, this whole be nice, don't offend anybody culture, that's the corporate culture. Okay, it's not a national culture by any means. But when everybody's divided and nobody trusts one another and there's no common shared beliefs, it's very easy for the corporation to rule over that. Now, that said, do you need to explicitly say this? Because here's what I'm getting at. Do you want to win, or do you want to make a big stink? Because here's how we win. All right, one of the things we do is we reform the immigration system. We don't parade down the streets screaming America was founded by whites and it's going to be a white nation. Because that's going to drive people away. That's going to upset people, offend people. Okay, and even people that want to support you are going to back off because you look like a bloody lunatic. Now, if instead you just reform the immigration system, you don't get, well, saying we need to reform the immigration system, we shouldn't be rewarding people for coming here illegally, or we don't need a bunch of quote unquote refugees from a country when they're really economic migrants, or we need people that share our values. You know, and you say, like, Sharia law is not a Canadian value, it's not an American value. You just say that. You don't say, fuck the Muslims, kill all the Muslims, because then you sound like a lunatic. And I know I'm as guilty of this as everybody else. But it's the subtle things that you do. Okay, you don't get into a big fight with Antifa, because when you do, you become the villain they're looking for. See, there's Nazis in our streets. We need to pass more diversity laws to save us from them. No. What you do is you you advocate policies that over the long term. Here, it's like you don't win Civ 5 by building that one wonder. Okay, you win Civ 5 by balancing everything out so that you have all these bonuses building on one another.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is, I'm going to go all Christ-cock. You all motherfuckers need Jesus. And
well, and this is the other thing. You know, I was just chatting with Common Phil over on Skype. Let me find what he sent to me. He says, so Trump recently said, whatever we believe, we're Americans first. And he commented, motherfucker, I'm not going to give up Christ for America. That whatever we believe, we're Americans first. That's the corporate ethos. Doesn't matter what you believe. Doesn't matter what you do at home. Doesn't matter whether you're doesn't matter. Just as long as you show up to work on time and you support the company's bottom line. That's all that matters.
Well, what I see in white nationalism is whatever we believe, we're white first.
Exactly.
And I can't, I'm not, somebody who maybe ironically LARPs as a Satanist and is a fucking Nazi and a homosexual and paints his dick blue and runs around in the woods or something. He's not my brother. And I don't care, how, if he's the same shade as me. I don't care how genetically similar to me. He might be my fucking biological brother. He's not my brother. I don't want anything to do with these kind of people anymore. I mean, yeah, race matters, but it's not all that matters. And I've taken now to asking, would you rather go to a black church or a white bathhouse?
Not when I'm inhaling, you bastard.
Yeah. And I mean, my choice is clear there, I mean, I probably wouldn't fit in at either one, but I know which one I'd rather go to.
I was the reason I just brought that up. The reason it was on my mind is because I was, spitballing ideas earlier today, and sometimes listen. When you're an NT, like I'm an ENTP, okay, when you're in that Myers-Briggs category, it can be very frustrating because, I tend to see, I see through a lot of stuff. Things just make a lot of sense to me, and most people have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. Okay, most people, it's like even when I'm talking with Brother John, and I love him to death, but he's the what is he, the EFTP or something like that? Very.
I don't know. I don't know the Myers-Briggs.
Yeah, okay. I'm not going to be too autistic with it. Just like as much as I love Brother John, I have a lot more difficulty talking with him than I do with somebody like Forney. Now, it would be very easy to say that there is a war between the NTs that are ruling society and us NTs that are writing these complex blogs because we're on the bottom, they're on the top. But it's more than just that. Even the NTs on the top. Okay, the thing is that there are no social roles anymore. There is no meaningful purpose to our civilization anymore because God is dead and we have killed him. This is why you need Jesus. Okay, this is why you need church because it's more than there's the ontological underlying purpose of all of it. And anytime you try and lift something else up to be that raison d'etre, whether you raise up capitalism as the be-all, end-all of life, or you raise up the white race, or you raise up the American Constitution, or whatever it might be, that is not a meaningful activity. Okay, ultimately, the only meaningful activity ultimately is celebrating God and celebrating life and love and all of this. That's the one thing that pulls all of these things together. Okay, like go read your Bible. Your Bible advocates for nationalism, not globalism. The Bible advocates for the right of peoples to exist.
Yeah, the last time there was globalism, at least in the Bible, it was called, the Tower of Babel. And God was none too happy about it.
He's like, yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. I made you all different, and I want you to all have your own countries where you can be different and yet still come to know me. You know, and this gets to, so I was jotting down some notes because it's so easy to point out all the problems with all of this. And, you know, the question is, what the hell do we, what are we supposed to do about it? And just five bullet points. Number one, guys, you need to educate yourselves. You've all been drastically miseducated by the whole educational system. Okay, you got to become an autodidact. You got to be curious. I know the curiosity was beaten out of you by those teachers, but rediscover it. You know, it's worth being curious about something other than just video games or expanded universes or any of that stuff. You know, that leads to the second one, culture yourself. Now, earlier when I was describing the alt-left and the alt-right, I said their entertainment is all narcissistic. Now, for the alt-left, do I have to explain to you that Gone Home is narcissistic? Like this girl sitting around and sniffing her own farts as if anybody gives a damn? I don't have to explain that that is narcissistic to you. But the more masculine counterpart to that would be something like, Star Trek 2009, where Kirk is just the hero because he was born the hero because he's always the hero. All right, and you know, more and more as I look at the sort of narratives being told in video games, even classic ones I loved, it's really starting to strike me just how narcissistic it is, that I'm the protagonist, so whatever I say goes. Everything's about me. I'm the center of the whole damn universe, as opposed to an individual within this wider universe who just happens to have this very influential role. So yeah, culture yourself. I mean, Lord of the Rings. Look at what happened to Frodo at the end of it. You know, or even Bilbo. You know, Bilbo had a very dark side to him. He wasn't a perfect character. He was a flawed character. Go get some actual culture into yourself. Next, get good. Get good. Get good with women. Get good with your martial prowess. And get good with speech and dialectic and, of course, grammar. You know, get good at things. Don't run off half-cocked thinking at 21 years old that you know everything about how the world works. Okay? You got to get good. And next, earn respect instead of demanding it. Have a bit of humbleness. If you want respect, go earn it. You know, don't go and protest about these monuments being torn down and say, I deserve respect. Go there and act like a gentleman and speak frankly, but speak with a controlled tongue and earn that respect. Don't allow these people to smear you. And finally, develop spiritually. And I think that's the big thing I want to get to with the Christianity thing. So I know that some of you guys are atheists. I was for a very long time. Listen, I'm not saying that you need to go get washed in the blood of Christ right frickin' now. Okay, that's not how it works. What you need to do is understand the culture and religion of your ancestors. You need to understand where things like Lord of the Rings came from, or where what's that other poem? The I am the master of my own ship, the destiny of my soul. You know the one I mean, Bechtloff?
Yeah, the captain of my soul.
Thank you. That one. You need to understand where this came from. And to understand that, you need to understand Christianity. Not in this stupid, naive, Christ cock, dead Jew on a stick, new atheist cult sort of way, but go understand what it's actually all about. Go listen to some Jordan Peterson lectures on it. All right, like that guy will get to the substance. Heck, most churchgoers don't understand the Bible as well as somebody that sits through 10 hours of Jordan Peterson. Go understand that.
Read Mere Christianity by Lewis.
Oh, go read anything by C.S. Lewis. The man's such a beautiful prose writer. We need to kick the nihilism out of our souls and out of our culture, because that's our ultimate enemy. This alt-left, alt-right stuff is very much a distraction so long as we remain nihilists, and like, listen, Nietzsche made a courageous attempt at going over instead of going under. But let's be frank, the biggest Nietzsche fans are leather-wearing homosexuals.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, you might as well put on the biker outfit and go to the all-white bathhouse.
But yeah, I mean, there can't be any real meaning without some manner of a God, without some manner of a spiritual dimension of things. Because, I mean, just materially, everything is dust. All right? You can propagate the white race all you want. One day it'll be gone. Yeah. One day it'll be gone. One day it's all going to be gone. You can love your nation all you want, but at the end of the day, those are just lines we all drew in the dirt. And one day they're going to blow away. Now, I don't think those things don't have meaning, but they only have meaning in light of the internal.
I mean, even if it starts out as Spinoza's God, okay? Even if it starts out just an understanding that, and this is why I've talked about the Gödel's incompleteness theorem and how mathematics was such a influence on me, because I know that math has to be true. Okay, it's so obviously necessary that math is true. And yet math can't justify itself. Math cannot justify math. All right? And that's the incompleteness theorem. Math is always going to be, what we can prove will be incomplete. And so either there's a God that makes math true, or there isn't. And math is whatever the hell you feel like right now. And see, this is that nihilistic edge coming out from the year zero side of things. That whatever they demand of reality, that is now the truth. So you do need this bigger thing, this bigger element.
Well, I mean, there's no better example of that than all the socialist bullshit that's on sections of the alt-right. Like, socialism doesn't fucking work. It doesn't work. It's never worked. And then, sometimes they'll try and be like, well, I mean, we're not, economics doesn't matter as long as we get just white people at all. No, anyone who says economics doesn't matter hasn't gone hungry. All right. Like, I don't know, like Richard Spencer. All right. Yeah, man doesn't live by bread alone, but he sure as fuck doesn't live without it.
And see, this is what happens when you don't have that higher purpose that you're striving for, is you try and build utopia on Earth. Okay, and this the year zero people, they say that, like, take the institution of marriage. It's existed since before civilization existed. Not necessarily in its present form, but it is one of the absolute universals in human culture, that marriage existed. And the year zero people say we need to destroy that because we can do better. Because there was no inspired light inside the human heart that drove it towards marriage. No, we're smarter than that. The year zero people are constantly compelled to try and create utopia using their mental processes, using logic and reason. But as I just pointed out, Gödel's incompleteness theorem thoroughly discredits reason's ability to reason itself into existence. Okay, math cannot prove itself. Reason cannot create itself. And if you're trying to redesign the universe by reason alone, all you'll get is you'll get the 20th century. And ultimately, what we're seeing from the Nazi conflagration crowd is they want the same thing. Okay, they don't want to see, if you're going after the infinite, it's going to take you forever to get there. Okay, so if you're only moving slowly, patience is a part of it. Whereas if you have this nihilistic view where there is no meaning, where there is no innate justice, there is no innate beauty, these are just matters of opinion, then you need to do it right now as fast as possible. And if that means, killing 6 million people, then go right ahead. Yeah, we need more than this. That's the thing. We need something worth fighting for. And something worth fighting for, it's going to be a slow fight, and there's going to be a lot of humbleness involved. In fact, most of the time, you shouldn't be fighting. Fighting is very, very seldom called for. Only under rare circumstances is it correct to fight. Whereas if you're not living for anything, it's, why not just fight all the time? Why not just sleep with anything that moves? Or these days, things that don't move.
Why not just be like Ghoul and get you some 15-year-old boy pussy?
I mean, why not at the end of the day? Honest to God, why not? If nothing matters, why not do that? Then go get an artificial womb to raise your children so that you can be a true MGTOW and not have to deal with those evil, icky women.
Yeah, I mean, if it's all that matters is the white race, maybe you can make some sort of genetic hybrid between you and your boyfriend and raise it. We're working on that lab stuff as we speak, so who knows?
Quite frankly, if nothing matters, then what's wrong with the virtuous pedophile movement? What's wrong with Brave New World that ensures that kids are sexual very early on so that they can no longer pair bond? Why is that wrong? If marriage is just a matter of opinion, why is that wrong? Why is undermining marriage wrong?
Well, you and Forney were bang on last night or the other night with the. I'm sorry, I listened to it last night with the just the outright darkness that's in sections of the alt-right. Just the outright fucking Satanism and paganism, which sometimes is the same damn fucking thing.
I'm a Catholic, so I'll be the first to apologize for paganism.
Yeah, you guys are like halfway there, but no, I mean there's just some evil shit going on in there, and there's certain folk that I kept quiet about it at first, but Richard Spencer made my skin crawl for moment one. Ghoul, the first time I saw him when he was doing those Bone Zone videos, that just set off my spider sense. And there's other guys out there involved in it that I truly think, and it's not even a political thing, it's just my gut reaction to them as a person. Like that's an evil motherfucker. And I don't necessarily say it publicly because then I'm going to get a bunch of Dick Rider fans like, "Oh, you don't know." I'm like, no, if you don't see it, I don't know how to explain it to you.
Somebody asked me if I was really serious about. So I commented that Baked Alaska, he's doing that. He's covering up one eye with a Pepe form, and then at rally, he almost got blinded. It's sounding like he's going to be okay. Thank God. Thank God, not thank Keck. But yes, I am actually deadly serious about that. I've seen too many coincidences in my life to believe in coincidence.
Well, Forney was talking about some of the shit he saw on Tumblr, and it's almost a shame Common Filth isn't doing the Tumblrisms anymore because there's a whole nother fucking level. But yeah, the Nazi Satanist gay shit that's on Tumblr, and he's not wrong. It's fucking there. I've heard other people rumbling about it too. I've unfortunately seen a little of it myself with people sharing links, and yeah, it's not shit you want to see. And it's there, and it's
side by side with articles by Richard Spencer.
It's involved in the alt-right,
which gets back to this Nazi conflagration. Okay, because that's what Nazi is all about. All right, we could have we could talk for hours about the history of World War II and where it came from. We could talk about Germany in the 1920s and on and on and on.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what the Nazis were or weren't in real life. The fact of the matter is, culturally, they are cartoon supervillains. They are the bad guys that fought Indiana Jones and Captain America. It is basically calling yourself a Satanist to call yourself a Nazi.
And I can't emphasize enough that there really are two. you've got this binary choice. You know, as I just alluded to with the Gödel's completeness theorem, you have to choose either math is real, therefore God exists. You know, and that's a leap of faith. It's faith does not mean belief. Okay, like guys, if you don't believe that Christ existed, well, that's an objective scientific matter. Okay, we don't have all the evidence we'd like to see, but I'll tell you, the Shroud of Turin is very, very striking. But yeah, that's objective. Now, faith is that leap that you make. You say that, you know, I can't ever possibly, my brain is not big enough to understand math completely, but I know it must be true, therefore I will have faith in God. Or you go the other way and say, whatever I feel like right now is going to be true. And I mean, this is the postmodernism of the SJWs, of the alt-left, that, you know, this guy takes hormones and says he's a girl now. You know, and this 10-year-old says they're mature enough to consent to sex, then they're mature enough to consent to sex. Stop being a hater, you bigot. Versus the, I don't know everything, but I know that there's something bigger than me. I know that the moral law, natural law, I don't get to decide what's right or wrong. It just is right or wrong. I try and learn more of it the same way I learn more math, but I don't invent math. I don't invent morality. I discover it. That humbleness there. And see, the satanic thing, I mean, like, yes, they're completely ignoring whether or not casting a spell on somebody works, okay, or cursing somebody, completely ignoring that whole aspect. The basic ontology of Satanism is whatever I want to be true is true if I can force other people to believe it, whether you do that through manipulation or force. I'm going to set the world on fire rather than have the world disagree with me. And that's a dark and dangerous thing, folks.
Well, yeah, like I said, I mean, at the end of the day, it's simply y'all motherfuckers need Jesus. And I mean, you know, I was defending Cantwell quite a bit here, and like I said, you know, he's been kind of stupid lately, but I think he's a decent guy. And you know, this is probably pretty much a rock bottom for him. You know, he's been in trouble before, but again, you know, he's never been in more trouble than when he started hanging out with Richard Spencer, because trouble just finds that guy. But
well, and you know what?
I would hope this is a rock bottom that just I would hope he just finds Christ as a result of this.
Well, the terrifying thing about hell is that it doesn't have a bottom layer. And the same thing with hitting rock bottom. You can always go lower. Rock bottom is wherever you decide it is. When you decide, okay, it's time to turn around. And with Cantwell, I don't want to gossip about the guy, but he made this public. His ex-girlfriend from my hometown of Hamilton, which, you know, right there, that's a warning sign. Don't trust people that live in Hamilton. Yeah, I'm never going to be Canadian Prime Minister. Hamilton's a bit of a shit show. His ex-girlfriend from there, it was an extremely dramatic relationship. Apparently she got pregnant and then killed the baby just to mess with his head. And Cantwell, on the off chance you hear this, that should have been your sign that you need to calm down. You know, the girlfriend before that had an abortion too. You need to calm down. You need to back off. You need to reevaluate. You can't keep doubling down on the craps table your entire life. But he went from that to talking about forming an alt-right white nationalist compound in the woods of New Hampshire where they're all going to be polygamous with the wives. And it's like, buddy, that's not going to turn out very well. Okay, I can already see 8 different ways that's going to blow up that don't even involve the government. Like, Cantwell, I love you to death, man. And I am not happy about the people piling on to you after the shit you went through. But you need to get yourself together. Brett, go mute the thing in the background. And actually, Brett is here to talk about something. But I want to get to one last thing talking about Cantwell. You know who was taking a big shit on him? And feel free to send this to the fellow I'm about to mention. with the timestamp because he probably doesn't want to listen to the rest of what I have to say. You know who was taking a big shit on Cantwell and just, chuckling it up? Mike Cernovich. Cernovich, you are next on the chopping block. They don't like you either. Okay, the corporations, they want an easy, controllable media. They want all of these atomized people to go home and turn on their CNN or their Fox News and hear the exact same thing and put on a red shirt or a blue shirt like it fucking matters and go watch their sports ball and sit down, shut up, vote for either party so long as you don't vote for anybody that changes the system. They just want this stability and obedience. Okay? And you are a problem, Cernovich. The system does not like you, Cernovich. And from what I've seen right now, the system, possibly Donald Trump himself, is working to undermine you because you are a wild card. All right? Don't go attacking the other. Like, good Lord, Cernovich, how about you show some fucking loyalty just once? Just fucking once in your life. Show some fucking loyalty to the people that have been your friends, that have been fighting on the same team as you from day one. If you disagree with them, yes, chastise them, but don't throw them under the bus as you have been. Because, buddy, you're just a Christmas turkey that's being fattened up. You are just, they want to find out who the leaks are in their government, so you're the guy reporting on those leaks. Seriously, brother. I'd like to see you be successful. But right now, you're being just as big of an asshole as Christopher Cantwell.
Actually, I think it would be a great thing if Cernovich defended Cantwell. Cantwell has some legal cases against some of these companies. And, isn't Cernovich supposed to be a lawyer there? But also, like Cernovich thinks, I'm going to prove I'm not racist, and that's going to keep me from getting deplatformed. I mean, motherfucker, Milo had a black cock in his mouth the day he was thrown out of Twitter. I mean, that's not going to help you.
Again, I don't want to be... Listen, I just said what I had to say about Cantwell. I really like the guy, and those are my valid critiques of him. Cernovich, it's... Buddy, they're coming for you. They're coming for you, and, it's... Like, how many heads have you stepped on getting to where you are? Listen, I don't like Baked Alaska particularly. But, I wasn't happy to hear he got hurt. I'm not going to laugh at him and make fun of him. And as I recall, he and Cernovich had some business dealings that went extremely south. And you know what? Okay, one more thing. Cernovich, if you keep hiring really bad people that just screw up everything you do with them, maybe it's a time to step back for a bit and figure out how to hire better people. Just saying. Just saying. Now, listen, we got Brett on, and he actually came in to talk specifically about Egyptian mythology, Egyptian deities, and Ket. So what's on your mind, brother?
Well, first of all, let me just say hi, everybody. It's a beautiful day out here in Washington State. How's everyone else's?
Yeah, not too shabby out here in Kanukistan.
I lived there once.
We got 2 more weeks of summer. Then the winter starts.
Yeah. How about you too, Bechtloff?
It's not bad out here.
Yeah. But yeah, to get back to the stuff on Keck, like, I was actually listening on the stream named David she did with Matt Forney, and when you talked about how Baked Alaska's got that Pepe covering his one eye, and that just so happens to be the eye he got hit with acid in. Well, gears in my head started turning. And I just happened to know somebody, a friend of mine, who's described herself as a Norse witch. And she was the only person I knew who would know anything about this sort of stuff. So I went to her and asked her what she might what she would think of this, about the Illuminati symbolism, Egyptian magic, and what have you. Had to give her a little context, but this is what she sent me over Facebook. Yeah. Egyptian magic spelled with a K, by the way, to be honest, and Celtic magic, both are what this country was actually built on. Everything you see, all right down to a tree, all has ties to Illuminati and Freemason, but, exclamation, they used magic to protect us, build us strong. The idea under God is your choice, since it technically doesn't state which God. Now, what do I feel? I feel that hold onto your seat because the Illuminati is about to pull another trick, and it is going to be a doozy. I've been feeling this coming for about 2 years now, and it's going to happen before year's end or in beginning of next year, but I feel strongly this year. My premonitions are getting stronger and clearer, and I have spirits telling me to pay attention. It's coming. Even my dead dad said the same thing to me 2 weeks ago, so I warn you, be ready, pay attention, it is coming. I responded, in other words, the alt-right is playing with nuclear fire and don't even know it. She responds, basically, something extreme is going to happen, big, many lives will be lost. Can I say nuclear? Not honestly, but it is going to be as big. It will be the New World Order, not just what people think. It is not going to be Mad Max version, but a huge change is coming. The new game is a bad act to trick everyone when the real magician pulls a damn explosive bunny. Yeah.
Well, and that's what I was saying. World War III in 2018, the World Civil War.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I read this interesting speculation that part of the reason that the alt-left has not been getting prosecuted for any of this is because they've been getting drawn out. You know, it's like we want to make it completely obvious to Joe Sixpack and Sally Homemaker just how vile. Like, who cares? Who cares if they're destroying history? You know, the globalists don't give a damn about history. They're going to erase it anyway. But they already have been erasing it. But, you know, they don't care that they're pulling it down, that they're pulling the statues down. But, you know, Joe Sixpack and Sally Homemaker, these Black Bloc, these Antifa, these alt-left guys, they're really starting to look like assholes. Perfect. Now we can crack down on the alt-left. And meanwhile, we're going to crack down on all the Nazis as well, which, you know, means everybody here, like it or not, no matter what you say, we're all Nazis, because both sides are extremely inconvenient. Both sides, as pig ignorant as both sides are, they're coming from a place of genuine frustration and valid anger at this broken system that's masquerading as governance.
Pretty much, yeah. Is anyone else hearing an echo?
No. Yeah, sorry about that. I do not have headphones.
Yeah, you need to get you some headphones.
Or get some
Well, they work
earbuds.
for everybody else.
Yeah,
Donate to Davis's Patreon so you can get some headphones.
or get in some earbuds. They're cheaper.
Do it. As long as I still have a Patreon. We'll see how far up the list I am. There was something weird. Took a while to get the live stream started. Something about monetization of videos, though it was probably just the hashtags that I put into this.
But yeah, going back to what my friend told me earlier, I just want everyone to keep one thing in mind. I come from a Christian family. My dad is an ordained pastor. If I think she's onto something, that should basically be setting everyone on red alert.
Yeah, I really feel like something big is coming. And I don't think this is it. Okay, this might be the start of it. And well, look at the number of websites being shut down.
And all of them alt-right, interestingly enough.
Let's see, we've got Countercurrents, Red Ice, VDare, TRS, you know, like, fuck those guys, but still, if they're coming after TRS, they're coming after me next. Kickstarter, GoFundMe, and Indiegogo are kicking people off. Pax Dickinson's Twitter's been shut down. Patreon is offline. And once again, that's a very poor choice for a name, branding-wise. Daily Stormer, Daniel Freeberg and Christopher Dulny, both Swedes, have been barred from entering the United States because of their presence at Unite the Right. Lauren Southern's Patreon's been taken down. NPI, Identity Europa's PayPal has been shut down.
Wait, Laura Southern's Patreon's taken down?
Apparently.
How will all her pay piggies give her money?
Yeah, no shit, eh?
Bechtloff, did you just hear about this now?
No, I just wanted to make the joke.
Would have been hilarious if this was when he actually did learn about it, though.
No, I like to compare conservative thoughts to whores because it amuses me.
Yeah. Still, I mean, like you should probably make that like a feature on your live stream. Conservative thought or porn star.
I'm actually thinking of once I get Luke back on, once his job eases up, I'm gonna maybe make that a game show or something. But I have to bring in people that don't follow politics a lot to make it really good. I might have my dad on and see if he can guess conservative thought or porn star.
Hey, I'd like to get in on that shit too. Sounds like it'd be fun.
Well, isn't it interesting how both these sides play into one another to make them more extreme? So the alt-left doxes and like it gets anybody on the right fired, right? And the thing about conservatives is they tend not to protest because they're too busy working and accomplishing something with their life. So thanks to the alt-left, you have more and more young men out there that have nothing better to do than go to some violent rally. And the alt-right, meanwhile, rather than try and advocate for their causes, trying to make those subtle shifts that will, empower America as a nation and disempower the globalists, they instead want to go out and trigger leftists, which drives even more leftists to the noble, valiant cause of being anti-racist. Yeah. So they're both absolutely feeding into one another, while neither of them are accomplishing any of their goals. They're being played.
Yeah, this is what I talked with a friend of mine who is in the alt-right. I honestly think he's a good guy. Don't hold that against him, people. But I was talking about him how Charlottesville could not possibly be the first time the alt-right got set up, and he agreed with me 100%. In fact, I'm actually convinced that the alt-right has been played for chumps from day one. Well, maybe not from day one because, well, no one really knows when the alt-right actually started, but more like when Spencer became the figurehead for it and it got more media attention. That's when the opposition started realizing, hey, we can play all these dumb white kids for chumps.
And that's exactly it. There's so many young men out there that are looking for guidance, and they've been getting told. And here's the bloody thing. That's why the alt-right's so attractive. They've been getting told from day one, just sit down, be a good boy, don't do nothing, right? Just take your Ritalin, just be obedient. And so they're chomping at the bit to go do something the exact opposite of that. Unfortunately, the exact opposite of that is not a solution.
Yeah, and in fact, I was talking with my dad about the alt-right because I actually can see where all these guys are coming from. In fact, I'm actually convinced that if the church was doing its job properly, if it hadn't gotten cocked, if it hadn't let the world get infected like a plague, there wouldn't be a need for the alt-right to exist because these guys would be getting their direction from the church. And that's where they're going to the alt-right.
Why do you think the communists targeted the church?
Exactly. Because it was giving them direction. And we want the state to give you direction.
Yeah, so now Catholicism is like do whatever you feel like doing.
Same with Protestantism to an extent.
Well, Protestantism often goes in the other extreme. And Bechtloff, maybe you can speak to this. But my experience, Protestantism is somewhat pharisaical in that it's obsessed over certain aspects of Scripture, but as soon as you fulfill those, you are holier than thou. You're born again, saved by Jesus, so long as you support Israel blindly.
Oh yeah, evangelicalism in particular, conservative Protestantism in this country. It's while on paper, it's all about grace and criticizes the Catholic Church for being too legalistic, where really just the opposite is true in a lot of them.
What the two sides, what Protestants criticize Catholics for, and vice versa, is usually the sin they're most guilty of.
If you guys want to see how bad it can really get, out here in Tacoma where I live, one of our universities is called Pacific Lutheran University. A friend of mine was an accounting professor there up until 2 years ago when he retired. And he watched it just over time just get more and more left to the point where now they're all about safe spaces and the 31 flavors of gender, all the usual liberal talking points, and its name has Lutheran in it.
Well, I tell you what, at the last church I was going to, if I needed confession, I had to go bug the priest because nobody else apparently went for confession at this church. It's welcome to the modern church. But speaking of Zionism, speaking of Israel, this is another thing I ran into. Somebody posted this on the forum. I believe it was. I want to give credit because these people. There's some smart guys on the Rouge Feed forum. I believe it was Zell Scorpion that mentioned this, or is it Zell Corpion? Whatever. He was pointing out that, like, this whole idea of the monolithic Jewish threat is ahistorical, idiotic, and ultimately quite destructive. Okay, it's not doing you any good. And that the Jews are a complex bunch of people. But speaking of things that are unfair, things that aren't fair, like it turns out life's not fair. Guess what? The Jews are extremely intelligent, extremely hardworking, and extremely rich and influential because of that. And that's just the reality, guys. That's the world you're going to deal with. All right? You want to have another Shoah? Well, guess who won that? 6 million dead Jews, and Germany is destroyed. Yeah, a bit of a war of attrition there. Bit of a Pyrrhic victory, you might say. But nonetheless, not a very smart maneuver, not a very smart strategy to follow. But yeah, this guy pointed out, like, look, there's globalist Jews and there's nationalist Jews. A lot of people like to go out and say, how come Israel gets a border wall and we don't get to have one? Buddy, wrong strategy. What you do is you go out and say, well, I think that obviously Israel's in a different situation than us because it's in the Middle East, but I think they have some very good strategies for maintaining their nation. I like their immigration policy. We should have a similar one. We should learn from them. Well, all of a sudden, you've got something good happening for you. All of a sudden, you've got an argument and most people will agree with that argument. Now you're getting something done. And at the end of the day, like the globalist Jews, the nihilist Jews, from what I've seen, when it comes to American Jewry, they're about 80% of them. Give or take. Most people don't have opinions on things, guys. Don't overthink this, but the Zionist Jews, most of them, following their beliefs, moved to Israel. So the Zionist, nationalist, right-wing Jews, they are, like it or not because the Protestants have some very stupid beliefs about this, okay, and it's not biblical, it's complete heresy, but, again, life's not fair, and some Protestants believe in stupid things, such as Israel, that they need to support Israel because the Bible told them to, even though none of them have read the damn thing, as proud as they are for having it translated into vulgar tongues. No offense, Bechtloff. We need the Jews as our allies. We need the Zionist nationalist Jews as our allies. And to any of the Zionist nationalist Jews out there listening, I know that there's a few of you. Quite frankly, the Jews are really bad allies. They're very sneaky. There's allegations that they've been stealing American technology to sell it to China. Okay, they engage in spying upon Western nations, and they're not. A lot of them turn a blind eye when the leftist Jews, the globalist Jews, undermine Europe with all of the Islamic immigration. The thing is, we need to be allies, like it or not. Doesn't matter if you hate one another. We need to be allies because we're in the same side on this fight.
I kind of once told my friends that if I could be any minority, I'd choose being a Jew because I could have it made at life and have a victim complex, I could lord over everybody else. 6 million dead. Better feel bad for me, goy.
Well, then, when it comes to
Yeah, but then you'd have that small penis.
True. I
you know,
don't think...
when it comes to global controllers, they love the disenfranchised Jew. And this is why they don't like Israel. Because Israel, the Jewish people, after 2,000 years of wandering the earth, after 2,000 years, they actually have their own country again. They have their own country. And not only do they have their own country, but they have successfully defended their own country. They have engaged in hot wars, and they've come out on top. And so all of a sudden, you have a Jew without the inferiority complex. And the globalists do not like that. The globalists want the Jews worrying about, you guys are going to have another Shoah, oy vey. Like, same thing with the blacks. They want the blacks to have broken families and to blame it on whitey. And they want the Jews to be part of the diaspora and constantly terrified of a Shoah. So terrified of the Shoah that they engender another Shoah. Because that, like, if you're terrified of something, you will bring it into your life.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Well, Davis, I got to roll out. So thanks for having me on.
Pleasure to have you, brother.
Bye, Bechtloff.
Yeah, thanks.
And folks, if there's anybody that wants to join in the chat, you can. Actually, we got somebody right now that's going to join in. So I don't want to keep going too much longer because, again, I might have to work tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. I definitely have to work tomorrow, but I can go for another hour.
Go for a little bit. So this is, this one, I don't know. Maybe he wants to talk about this, maybe not. He was saying to me that somebody. Okay, we got him. We got him. We got the shitlord.
Second.
Say again.
Second, that. Just want to make sure that my match written.
We are getting major robot voice off of you and not Bechtloff, surprisingly enough.
Give me a second. I'm gonna leave the call.
Restart the call, brother. Restart the browser, then join again.
Yeah.
You got to ask: is it just our technology is failing, or is YouTube targeting?
Remember back when they made stuff to actually last?
Okay,
right.
checking.
There we go.
I fucking hate this mic. I honest to God do. I have to check, is it on? Is it working? Am I sounding like I'm C3PO or some fucking shit like that?
Somebody in the comments just said Davis, the walking Holocaust, Aurini. I prefer humanoid typhoon.
Now there's a wrestling name. From Alberta to Canada, weighing in, I'm just gonna say 190 pounds. Davis, the walking Holocaust Aurini.
Actually, exactly 190 pounds. I've managed to lose a bit of weight.
And I just guessed it.
That's a sort of that would go over well in China.
That feel when you're fat and you're getting a standing desk to lose weight because you're sitting on your ass all the time playing flight simulators and crashing.
Anyway, shitlord, what did you phone in to say?
Now is not the time. Now I've talked to you this on Skype. Now is not the time to abandon the alt-right. Now is the time to try and move away like you're the fucking Richard Spencers who are just there to fucking collect a check and, and guide it with some fucking decency.
The problem with Richard Spencer, though, is he's got himself a cult of personality.
Yeah, he has a cult of personality, but all you need to do is call him a faggot once or twice, and his followers will slowly move away from him. I mean, the reason why the NSM is just this little itty bitty thing is because its leader doesn't believe in anything that National Socialism is about. It's not just because National Socialism is this pariah. It's also because he happens to not be, a National Socialist.
See, the question is, do the young men in the alt-right, do they want to be more than just the right-wing version of Antifa?
I don't think that's the proper question. I think the proper question is, how do we make them more than just a bunch of idiots, carrying tiki torches and screaming, racial obscenities at far left commies?
The thing with the alt-right, though, is just that these guys are wielding a sledgehammer when they need to be wielding a scalpel.
The sledgehammer can come later, but more really, what they need to do right now is shape up. I like to think that this whole thing in Charlottesville was, kind of a proof of concept. And granted, it proved that, one, they're very gay and retarded, but it also proved that there was support for it and that there were people that were behind it. And that's the thing that's striked me. That's the reason why I'm not just saying, ooh, they're gay, read, siege, faggot. They have people behind them. Now is not the time to just hurl structureless criticism at them. Now is the time to move in and provide direction. And I think a man like Aurini, even men like Common Filth, would be better off taking the reins of the alt-right and providing that direction.
Well, it's the question of leading a horse to water. I mean, like, listen, if there's this chick and you're into her, and you get her number, but then she doesn't return your calls, are you going to sit around being all depressed all day long?
No, of course not.
We could have had such a beautiful life together. No, clearly, whatever you thought was going to happen wasn't going to happen, because you can lead whatever you wanted to happen, she didn't want it to happen. So why are you crying over something that never even existed aside from in your own head?
That's very true.
And part of the reason that I backed away from the alt-right, it was a couple of months ago, I guess, because I saw the direction things were heading, and for a while there, it was really bothering me. I'm like, guys, you got to stop following the Pied Piper. He's not leading you to the promised land. Quite the opposite, actually. And eventually, I had to back away because I had to say, you know what, whatever this is, it's not what I am. Okay, or at least it isn't yet. These people, it's like that joke about the guy that goes to hunt a bear and goes with his shotgun, and the bear taps on his shoulder and he rapes him. Then he gets all angry and he goes back into the woods, and this time he has a machine gun and he feels a tap on his shoulder and the bear rapes him all over again.
Yes, I've seen that one.
And so then he goes there with the rocket launcher and he feels a tap on his shoulder, and the bear says, "You're not here for the hunting, are you?"
No, he's not. He certainly is not.
And so you have to ask the question.
You have a fair point.
What is the alt-right all about?
The problem is the alt-right it's got very basic concepts. It's got very basic concepts that don't mean anything. The group that I'm a part of, we bitch about watered down concepts. The alt-right isn't necessarily watered down. It just doesn't have any concepts. Its basic concepts are, we stand for white people. What the fuck does that mean? We stand against degeneracy. What the fuck does that mean? Are we okay? Like, there are people in the alt-right that'll say, ooh, I'm okay with gay people, but, the 3 million genders or whatever, that shit's stupid.
Oh, yeah, that's a step too far. See, the alt-right needs to start standing for something as opposed to against other things.
Yes, and that is very true.
And whatever it stands for, we can't have, what did Eliezer Yudkowsky used to call it? He had this great post about, like, super awesome fun time theory. It was something like that, where you pick one idea, one simple idea, and it's like, yes, this is the best idea ever. We just need to do this all the time. And, that's kind of what Ayn Rand did. And look at what happened to objectivism. I mean, like, listen, I love Ayn Rand. Okay, I love her books. But there is so much to be said for those books. And anyway, ultimately objectivism failed and turned into a cult of personality. And same thing, when you put like, I'm here to preserve the white race. Well, what winds up happening is you have a cult of personality. Same thing with communism. I'm here to overthrow the evils of capitalism. You wind up with a Stalin, a cult of personality.
You start off with a D International, you know, the destruction of every single bit of culture beforehand, and you wind up with brutal totalitarianism, and not even the fun kind.
Yeah, moving back to what the alt-right is supposed to stand for, either of you guys are familiar with a YouTuber by the name of Naked Ape?
He's a fag. What I would be more interested in is like the alt-right has many. I'm trying to find the correct term, but many stretched out groups, and some of them with even less moral grounding than others. I would think that, you know, your Christopher Cantwells are pretty good, but at the same time, he has his own problems.
But yeah, where I was going with this was Naked Ape did a stream with Millennial Woes, Braving Ruin, and some other guy whose name escapes me.
We're going to get more homosexuals into this.
Yeah, well, Naked Ape actually pinned down something that the alt-right was lacking. He kept asking them, well, you guys want to preserve the white race. What does that mean? And why does the white race deserve to exist? Justify it. And of course, Millennial Woes being Millennial Woes went all, oh, you're so clever, aren't you?
Fucking ass.
Well, I like Millennial Woes.
I like him as well. He's pretty good.
Dude's a homo. Not a fan.
I think it's a great answer. If you want to exist in the future, earn that existence. You know,
My number one problem is not only, well, my number two problem is aesthetics, and some of it's down to like the message, and some of it's down to like the. I mean, you know, like let's just wear like fucking plaid shirts and walk around in that. That's really that makes you look like you're ready for a fucking barbecue with a family. It makes you look fucking retarded.
I don't know. I mean, when they were marching in Charlottesville and they were carrying all these fucking tiki torches, and thinking to myself, what the fuck's going to happen if one of them gets knocked on their ass and they start a fire? Like,
well,
seriously.
You know what? Why tiki torches if it's not some sort of occult symbolism that I just don't get?
Apparently, it's ironic usage of the enemy's tactics.
What ironic usage are you talking about?
I don't know. That's what my alt-right friend told me.
Oh, those bastards. But no, I think Aurini is correct. We need to infiltrate these places, have a second of opinion, and actually walk the walk, but not just talk the talk. I think I will almost certainly I'll be going to the Google protests this next couple days, and well, I'll probably try to recruit some of these alt-right people. At least try to be a second opinion person, a third position person, trying to explain to them what because again, a lot of the problems they're real. You know, whites are being targeted.
Look, there's no doubt that the problems are real. The problem is the message, how they deliver it, and also, you know, as stupid as it sounds, the aesthetics of it.
Yeah, like,
you know, Aurini put it kind of good, you know, when he said, earn it.
From whom?
These people aren't earning it by putting up pictures of saying, you know, please don't kill us, with girls walking in wheat fields.
From who? But like, again, earning it implies that there's somebody we earn it from.
Well, from God, from nature, from karma,
from our enemies.
That's another problem.
By walking the talk every day, not by. You don't win by having a big media stunt. You know, a media stunt is a tactic. It's not a strategy.
Yep.
You know, sometimes it's useful, sometimes it's very not useful, as we're all noticing right now. You win by having a distinct strategy and purpose and direction and goal that you're acting upon achieving.
The funny thing about the right wing is we've been using a lot of tactics. We all have our tactics. None of us have a fucking overlying strategy.
Principles.
Principles too. We have no principle.
Well, like
Even the group I'm a part of, which attracted me on the very basis of we aren't going to allow this and this and this in. We are about this. It still has like no moral foundation.
yeah, and I think I was thinking about it just now. I think natural law is what's going to separate the right from the left. The natural order of things, like in the United States where I'm from, we have natural law. That's where the government does not impede on our rights. We have natural rights. Congress will not make laws against freedom of speech. There's a law blowing. I don't know who that is.
Well, and here's the thing about that. Having a purpose is not exclusionary. See, the problem with if you lack a purpose, you immediately have an enemy. Now you become exclusionary. You say, these people are not part of my movement, and those people are not part of my movement, and on and on and on. Whereas if you have a direction and a purpose where you're headed, we're all headed there. So, like, my goal, like, I don't have a wife right now. I'm working on it. There's a girl I'm talking to. We're developing the relationship. That's my direction and purpose I'm heading towards.
No, I gotcha.
So it's the same thing.
If the purpose is to reinstitute sodomy laws, I'm pretty sure not going to include 2% of the population in that.
Yeah. If I can hijack this for a second, this is a problem I've got with the alt-right, and it's their attitude, or lack of attitude rather, towards Christianity. I mean, you got some guys like Vox Day, whom I think are a genuine force for good in the alt-right, at least where Christianity is concerned. But so many of the alt-right, I mean, like, they're right to call out Christianity for being cucked, but the pagans, oh my God, do they annoy me. These guys want to say Christianity cucked the white race and talk about how it kept us, it's like some 1,000-year-long Jewish conspiracy that kept us from our potential. And yet they completely ignore the fact that their ancestors were fucking savages. I mean, I'm Irish. My ancestors were the Celts. The Celts treated warfare like it was sport and practiced human sacrifice. Guys, ever heard of Crom Cruach? Look him up.
No, I haven't. Although I will say this. The fun fact about Christianity that the white nationalists never bring up is the fact that Christianity united Europe. And when they united, they were able to stand up against fucking Islam was trying to move in. And if we did not have Christianity, there've been a lot of speculations what would happen with the Europe without Christianity if Christianity never existed or never got caught wind. Europe would be like India. There'd be many different pantheons, many different deities, and they would get along to a certain degree, but Islam would eventually come in, and you'd have a situation where it's like India versus Pakistan constantly. We wouldn't have the Industrial Revolution. We wouldn't have the Enlightenment. We would probably still be dying in a shithole somewhere without Christianity.
I'm personally of the belief that
we have designated shitting streets. But I have to say, like,
actually, wait. There's a comment I need to bring up from Azalea Rosit that it perfectly nailed what I was just saying. I think it's a she. No offense if it's a he. Having a purpose is absolutely exclusionary. It just isn't legalistically exclusionary. It is organically exclusionary.
Yeah,
there's a marching cadence that they use in I think the Marine Corps, might be the U.S. Army. Where it goes, pick up your packs and follow me. And if you don't want to pick up your packs, don't. I'm going in this direction. You like the direction, pick up your pack and follow me. You want to be a pack dropper? You want to do the dirtbag shuffle? Go right ahead. I'm going in this direction. And so that's the correct sort of exclusionary, where you're not purity testing people. Do you believe in the 14 words? Get the hell out of here. I'm not citing another man's 14 words.
Yeah, get out of here. You want to be David Lane?
Organically exclusionary, having a purpose, having a direction. Not just an event. If the event is yelling at liberals, then there's plenty of people that want to yell at liberals, and most of them are shitheads.
it's that codependency, I'd say, on wanting to, not necessarily wanting to be an alpha. I'm saying it in the terms that there's this hierarchy. There are tribes that exist, and everyone thinks, well, I have to be part of the alt-right, and everyone likes Spencer, so let's follow Spencer. You know, you could have the values of the alt-right, you could have the values and principles of Christianity, but you have to be able to follow through with them. And if you don't like what direction they're going, you don't have to abandon everything and throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know?
Well, and the important thing with Christianity too, like the real core of it, is the spirit of Christianity. Which, again, this is not an excuse for sins or for falling short of a standard, although Lord knows every single one of us does.
Every day.
Every damn day.
It's the spirit of moving in that direction. That you're not just doing it to call yourself holy. Okay, it's not like a bachelor degree where it's like, okay, now you're a bachelor of the sciences or a bachelor of the arts. No, it's a lifelong direction. It's a lifelong journey.
Davis, do you mind me asking you something?
Say again?
You mind me asking you something, Davis?
Go right ahead.
Are you sure you have not been hanging out with my dad, because you've almost said point for point everything he's been teaching me?
Well, it sounds like he knows what the hell he's talking about.
He's a pastor. He should know what he's talking about.
I should hope so.
Yo, Brett, what part of the country are you from?
Depends, because currently where I'm
Like
living at,
north, south.
I'm currently living in Tacoma, Washington.
Okay, so you're a fucking hipster. Sorry.
Hey! I spend the nights prowling the streets for hipsters.
Ooh.
Okay, so you're part of the Northwest movement. My apologies. But like I've noticed this difference between like northern fascists and southern racists. And it's like the southern racists, I've noticed like a fuck ton of like neo-pagans out of them. You have like your I forget that fucker's name. He ran for the Senate in Florida. Augustus Invictus.
No.
Yeah, like, you know, we're going to fucking naming yourself after a Roman emperor. But like, dudes talking shit about the North. Dudes talking shit about, you know, the Lord Jesus Christ. Dude's a fucking libertard. And, you know, I'm just wondering, like, is it because, like, the South lost that they're just abandoning the traditions of Christianity?
I think here's the thing: everybody's abandoning the traditions. The past 50 years have been bleaching all of the traditions away from our society, and they're doing it in different ways and using different techniques. Like here in Canada, people think Canada's all about hockey and beer and socialized medicine. No, actually, that has nothing to do with what Canada is about.
I don't even know what it's about.
Most people have no clue.
It's about being descended from Scottish people, actually.
I thought Canada was about welcoming like every single Asian person ever.
That's especially true out in British Columbia.
I have no idea what. Could you tell us what Canada is about, Davis? I personally don't know at all.
Toryism and the frozen north. Okay, and they go hand in hand. The thing is that you Americans have the legend of the cowboy. Okay, the guy that says, you know what, I've had enough with take the Hatfields and McCoys. You know, and say some of them said, you know what, I'm sick of this feuding, I'm sick of this garbage, I'm sick of all of this. I'm getting on my horse and putting my hat on, and I'm moving out to California to make my own way. And I've got my 6-shooter and my dog and my shotgun and my horse, and that's all I need to make my wealth and dreams come true. Canada, it's the inverse of that. Where Canada is the absolute frozen north. And the frozen north, you need to get along with people. You need to be a team player. You need to be somebody that's reliable and competent and self-reliant, but who can also play well with others. So you can't be a shithead here. If you're a shithead, you don't get shot up in the OK Corral. If you're a shithead, you freeze to death because nobody helps you. And so this is where the tradition of the politeness that Canadians are known for, that's because we have to survive the winter together. And so you're polite, you are civilized with the people around you. Doesn't mean that you're not also going to put a round in somebody if they need it. It means that you are going to act like a mature adult.
You guys are Vikings, essentially.
No,
Exactly.
not Vikings, but more of polite frozen people.
Well, and you see the similar way that this attitude is turned against itself. So you look at Norway, Sweden, whatnot, it's turned against them, saying that, oh, we're the polite, nice people. Yes, sure, come rape my women is okay.
Ugh.
Same thing in Canada.
To think
Whereas in
that
America, the cowboy is turned against you to say every single one of you is a special little goddamn snowflake. You're all the heroes for your own story. You can do whatever the hell you want with your life. You don't have to play well with others.
America, we have the rugged individual, and the rugged individual went from what seems like one generation from cowboys to the next generation pansexual snowflakes.
Damn.
Precisely. And so the deconstruction is used against each people and each group, whether it's cultural, ethnic, whatever. It's used against them in a unique manner. Okay, so the black history of coming out of slavery but then establishing themselves is flipped on its head into coming out of slavery, therefore everything's the white man's fault, and that's why you fail.
Some of the stuff is the white man's fault, but it wasn't for them. It was for their forefathers and whatnot. You know, like one of the biggest issues, like with me, like right now, is a lot of the problems that my generation is facing is from my forefathers and the economics that we've inherited, the economy we've inherited. But boomers, exactly. But at the same time, I don't want to fall into that mindset where everything is external, nothing is internal, nothing is within my control, because that's what the alt-right's doing. They're blaming everything on the media, everything on the Jews, everything on the degenerates. Oh my God! If only people.
Let's not blame any. Let's not blame nothing on them.
Yeah,
you know what? I was having a disagreement with a friend of mine where he likes to describe things as situations. Because if you're trying to sell somebody a product and you say, hey, I hear you have a problem, they'll get pissed off at you. Where if you go and say, hey, I hear you have a situation, I've got a product that'll fix it for you, then they're amenable to listen to you. And now I have the opposite interpretation where I like to identify problems. It's probably my military background. It's like, what is the problem? Problems, questions, concerns? What is the problem? What is the malfunction? Why is this stupid machine not working properly, you filthy shit pump? Okay, I like to identify problems. You got to do a little bit of both. You got to go out and identify what are the problems. What is broken? Okay, what is not working properly? But once you find out what that is, you need to incorporate it into the situation. So, for instance, relations between the sexes are very, very broken right now. The manosphere has spent 10 years of dedicated effort from tons of people identifying what all the problems with women are and the problems with marriage law, etc. Okay, so now we know what that is. We know what the problems are. We know the situation. What do we do about this? Like if you're looking for
a solution, and that is what I've been saying about the alt-right. We've identified the problems. Good Lord, the past how many streams has been just nothing but identifying the problems? We need to provide a solution. And generally, some people will listen out to the solution. And once one person hears the solution and really starts to get interested into it, other people will follow suit.
Okay.
And actually, let me bang on this a little bit. Because one of the big issues I've had with the alt-right for some time now is their constant attacks on Roosh when he should be one of their closest allies. Now, there's the aspect of the reason they were attacking Roosh is because Roosh was actually providing something good to the men that followed him. So he was a threat to guys like TRS, guys like Richard Spencer. That's part of it. But also, they're masquerading themselves as being above degenerate things like picking up women. I'll tell you right now, if you want to be a man, if you want to be a Western man, a useful asset to Western civilization, you are going to get good with women. You need to understand. You need to drop this nice guy bullshit. You need to drop the supreme gentleman Elliot Rogers bullshit, and you need to go out there and learn how to act like a handsome barbarian in a suit around women. You need to know how to turn your wife on. You need to know how to bend her over the couch and leave the couch broken, but her satisfied. All right, this is you need to do this as a man. And you know what? If you're a young man that's been raised by a single mother or a bunch of female school teachers, quite frankly, there's worse ways to do it than picking up one of Bruce's books.
Okay, do you mind if I interject? Because it's not criticizing what you're saying. It's
Oh, yeah,
actually
go right
pretty
ahead.
funny. I remember I go on like this cringe anarchy thing, and it's just all this nihilism, laughing at shit. But one of them was like this little excerpt from like an alt-right website, and it was saying like we're now the bad boys. Girls will want to fuck you in bars and shit. I'm just
Wait, everybody said that?
no, they unironically.
Holy shit! That sounds like stuff I would use in a stand-up routine.
Oh Jesus!
So when you were talking about like Roosh, them shitting on him because ooh, he's a degenerate that wants to fuck broads and shit.
He's a kebab.
But is he Persian? Persians are white. Last I checked.
Yeah,
Look,
and even
look,
if he,
I'm willing-
let's say for sake of argument, he was 100% Iranian. If you can't tell the difference between Roosh and an economic migrant, then you need to get your vision checked.
Yeah.
Look, white people have been expanding the definition of white for a long time now.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? I mean, what does a German have?
The problem is we're almost forced to. Oh, we're down to 60%. We got to bump this up. It's now 70%. We're including all the Mexicans.
I mean,
Well, but this actually touches on something else, which I forget who pointed this out. But here's the thing: if you really wanted to get rid of white people, you'd allow them to have their ethno-state, because they would immediately go to killing one another. It'd be the Italians versus the Greeks and the Catholics versus the Protestants.
It wouldn't be on those
Yes,
lines.
it
It
would
would
be.
be along the
Yeah, it
lines of pagans versus Christians, and then it would go to, depending on who actually managed to survive that.
This legalistic purity spiral, it's an inability to work together, an inability.
You do
to
need
work with
purity
other people.
spirals. You do need purity spirals.
you need
can't
places to
let
die on, hills to die on. That's what you need.
Not even just that. You need like to say like, okay, these.
Well,
to
the
adopt
problem with
the
the
term from
purity
the left.
spiral, problem with the purity spiral is that everybody involved in it defines purity as whatever they're not tempted to do.
That is very much true. That is very much true, and which is why you need, I guess, a Christian backing to it. Something
Well,
that is
that's why you
founded in more than just this is something I'm not, so thus it's good.
You need
Platonic
to be
form.
aspirational, and if you're aspiring towards something, then you can work with other people. You can have a common aim, a common goal that you're working towards, and we need more of that cooperative. That not the obsequious obedience, but the directed.
Well,
And
you're going to
cooperative nature.
need that obedience aspect if like shit gets worse.
Oh no!
And-
If you have a worthy leader, and it's a situation of it's a whatever sort of situation, you need to fucking obey commands. If no one obeys commands, nothing gets done. But it's not just about obedience for the sake of obedience. It's about this aspirational cooperation that you are obeying because you know why you're here and what you're accomplishing and what you're doing. And this leader has shown some salt, and you're willing to follow them because of that.
This reminds me of that movie Night of the Living Dead, or in all the zombie genre. The whole point of the zombie genre and a recurring theme in these movies is that we're the real enemy or our own worst enemy. The zombies are just they're just a freaking force of nature practically. But our inability to cooperate with each other is our own downfall. So
I think the more telling notion about zombie movies is that we're all dead inside.
Well, I mean, the original Night of the Living Dead, the zombies get in because they couldn't cooperate with each other. They couldn't, take charge. One person take charge, the other person follow their roles, get in line, yada yada yada. It all devolves, And I was what Davis said about how Canada survive the freaking winter. You guys have to get along. You may not like it, but you have to get along to the point where you just have to survive.
Well, and I think that's it. And we should get closing out on that. I think it's a good note to close on, is that, folks, we need a direction that's bigger than ourselves. Okay? We need a standard of behavior that we all aspire to, not that we embody. It's easy to already keep doing what you're doing. We need to aspire to better things. And we need to be able to cooperate with one another. And I would even go so far as keep in mind, the people on the alt left, they are our proximate enemies, not our ultimate enemies. All right? And fighting them, you're fighting the wrong people when you're fighting them. Yeah, we gotta, I'm not saying invite them into your camp. You gotta build a palisade to keep them away. But they're not our ultimate enemy.
They're a friendly foe. Just stay away from them. Like wild animals, don't go into the fucking wolf den unless you're gonna kill the entire pack of wolves. But at the same time, don't bait them. You don't need their you don't need them with you. They're like animals.
Yeah. Alt-right, I would try to urge guys, try to start thinking a little more strategically, and seriously, you got to start looking for the science kiss. Charlottesville is not the first time you've gotten played for chumps, and it is not going to be the last either.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to add, we need to provide solutions, not just criticism. Criticism, and we all provide, but we need to provide solutions. And I think good men like you, Aurini, good men like Common Filth, would be the best people to provide those solutions.
Well, and ultimately, we all need, every single one of us. It's old saying: if you're going to show me a problem, show me a solution to it. And we all need to be doing that.
If I go to this thing this weekend at Google, I'm gonna probably shill for you, Aurini, that with your permission, of course.
I'd appreciate that.
All right.
Best of luck, brother. Stay frosty.
I hope so. I don't want to end up on a terrorist watch list.
One last thing. I think that everyone should go watch that Medicare mutually assured destruction video. It's
that one.
Digitally assured destruction, yes.
Yeah, we may need to do that.
Like it or not, the internet's getting hostile.
And the scary fact is we may need to nuke the entire thing with ISPs.
Well,
we don't even need to do that. Just use I guess what is it? Just blacklist Google from your DNS server, and basically make it so you can never reach Google from Google.com. You can do it that way.
Google makes money off of YouTube. Google makes money off of this shit. Google makes money off of almost everything.
It's how do you kill
probably better to
Wait, I thought YouTube hadn't turned a profit. How is Google still making money off them?
I'm not sure. But
government.
Of course.
Anyway,
Google
guys,
has
I'm
sought
going
to
to
just
close it out.
keep this.
Yeah.
I'm going to close it out for the evening. Thank you to everybody for listening.
Thank you.
I will reiterate part of the reason that I do this every Tuesday and Thursday, even when I work 50 hours as I did last week, is because I got backers on Patreon. And until I hit it big and get my trust fund, and then I get to cancel the Patreon, until that time, quite frankly, that's the way you keep me going. That's the way you keep me doing all of this. You keep me dedicated. That way I don't slough off and do the dirtbag shuffle, make excuses. So if you want to back me, that'd be much appreciated. Or if you want to back somebody else that hasn't been kicked off of Patreon and PayPal yet, then please do so. Folks.
I'll become your pay pig.
Folks, take care of yourselves out there. Be good to one another, as Common Filth would say. Deus Volt, Aurini out.
Bye.